Sean Diddy Combs had it all: fame, fortune, and influence, but when hidden cameras, secret witnesses, and a stunning courtroom confession exposed the dark empire behind the music, his world came crashing down in a trial that would shake the entertainment industry to its core. Sean Diddy Combs had everything: wealth, fame, power. For decades, he was seen as a music icon, a businessman, and a cultural figure. A quiet raid was conducted at one of Diddy's homes in Miami. There, they uncovered surveillance equipment, private records, and large amounts of cash. The list of accusations was long: human trafficking, drug distribution, illegal surveillance, and conspiracy. Cameras lined the steps, reporters flooded the streets, and inside the courtroom, 12 jurors were selected to decide whether a global icon was guilty of crimes that shattered the image he had carefully crafted for years. Each detail made the case more surreal. Some people refused to believe it, claiming it was a setup. From day one, they focused on the most damning piece of evidence: a set of secret video recordings pulled from Diddy's mansion. These weren't short clips. They were hours of surveillance footage, showing scenes that prosecutors said revealed a pattern of criminal behavior hidden behind luxury and glamour. They called the footage misleading, saying it lacked context and had been cherry-picked to create a narrative of guilt. They also questioned the reliability of the former bodyguard, suggesting he had motives to harm Diddy after being dismissed without a severance. But even with these objections, the damage was done. The jury had seen enough to know something wasn't right. Prosecutors argued that this wasn't a random collection of footage, it was a system. Online forums exploded with theories. Fans were divided. Some defended Diddy, calling the videos fake or manipulated. It wasn't just evidence, it was a window into a world no one was supposed to see. And with each new clip revealed in court, the gap between the public image and the private truth grew wider. Others said they had suspected something was wrong all along. The court allowed her to testify behind a privacy screen to protect her from media exposure. She described how the lavish lifestyle was a front for something far more sinister. According to her, Diddy's homes were heavily controlled environments. Every employee, from chefs to drivers, had to sign strict non-disclosure agreements. Surveillance wasn't just for protection, it was to monitor people constantly. Staff were not allowed to speak freely or question anything. If they did, they were replaced quickly, often without warning. She was identified only as a former personal assistant who had worked for Diddy for over 6 years. Her presence brought an entirely new level of intensity to the courtroom. A method designed to control and intimidate. The jury was shown carefully selected segments, each supported by timestamps, metadata, and expert analysis proving they hadn't been altered. Some videos were shaky and poorly lit, while others showed clear angles of guests, staff, and Diddy himself. The footage was taken from hidden cameras, some embedded in smoke detectors, others tucked inside picture frames. Others felt justice was finally catching up to years of unchecked power. Behind closed doors, she said, guests were often supplied with unknown substances, their phones were confiscated, and security kept them inside until Diddy personally dismissed them. Some women, she claimed, left those parties shaken, crying, or completely unresponsive. Staff were told not to interfere or ask questions. She said it became routine to ignore the chaos as long as you kept your job. Hidden rooms were discovered, including one with a wall of monitors showing live feeds from security cameras all over the house. Some of the footage recovered became central to the case that would follow. Then another person spoke up, followed by a lawsuit alleging years of coercion, control, and criminal behavior. He had never gone public, but after his sudden firing, he turned over a collection of hard drives to the FBI. The tapes revealed more than just wild parties. They showed disturbing incidents involving young women who appeared disoriented, intoxicated, or afraid. Some were seen being escorted into restricted rooms and never reappeared on camera for hours. In several clips, security staff blocked doors, redirected people, and seemed to take orders from unknown sources through earpieces. Suddenly, the internet exploded with speculation. News outlets began digging, pulling up older cases and forgotten allegations. What had started as a rumor was now a full-blown federal case. Diddy hired the best lawyers money could buy, and the media turned the story into daily headlines. Celebrities who once stood beside him were suddenly silent. A man known for controlling the spotlight now found himself drowning in it. Patterns started to emerge, but there was still no solid proof. That changed quickly. His success in hip-hop was legendary, with multiple Grammy wins, platinum albums, and fashion lines that ruled runways. From private jets to million-dollar parties, his life seemed untouchable. But behind the luxury, something darker was growing, something no one was ready to believe. It began with whispers. A former employee posted a vague statement online, hinting at abuse and manipulation behind Diddy's polished image. At first, it was ignored. Federal agents launched an investigation. What they found shocked even seasoned investigators. More raids followed, and each one uncovered more disturbing clues: burner phones, encrypted laptops, unsigned NDAs, and an unusual number of foreign IDs. As the charges became public, the world began to see a new version of Diddy, one not built on success, but on suspicion. The courtroom was set, and the trial of the decade was about to begin. The prosecution didn't waste time once the trial began. Investigators believed the footage came from a former bodyguard who had been quietly recording everything for over a year. These videos shook the courtroom. Though the faces of certain individuals were blurred for privacy, the implications were powerful. Diddy's lawyers fought back. Outside the courtroom, the media ran wild. Talk shows analyzed each frame. As the trial pushed forward, the footage became the core of the case. Midway through the trial, when public interest seemed to be fading into routine court updates, the prosecution revealed something that reignited the entire case: a protected witness whose identity had been sealed until that moment. Her testimony was long, detailed, and methodical. She spoke of events labeled as private retreats that included celebrities, influencers, and models. What shocked the courtroom most was her claim that Diddy used private investigators to track former employees and associates who might speak out. She presented evidence: emails, screenshots, and a handwritten journal detailing threats, suspicious car accidents, and break-ins that she believed were meant to scare people into silence. Every detail lined up with elements already introduced in court, especially the footage, which showed several of the events and rooms she described. She even said she feared for her own safety but decided to come forward after hearing about similar stories in the news. Their strategy was bold, aggressive, and designed to shift the narrative entirely. They argued that the entire case was a result of a targeted smear campaign driven by jealousy, betrayal, and media manipulation. The defense produced a leaked email showing she had contacted a tabloid several years earlier offering to sell a story about Diddy, and the need to make an example out of a famous figure. They claimed that law enforcement had mishandled evidence, rushed to judgment, and allowed the story to spiral out of control without properly verifying facts. They also showed records of a lawsuit she once filed for wrongful termination, which was settled quietly. These witnesses admitted he threw wild parties and was controlling, but denied seeing or hearing anything criminal. His legal team quickly requested an appeal, but the damage was done. Others believed he had been targeted because of his fame and influence. A retired music executive stepped forward and gave a signed statement to federal investigators. In it, he confessed to helping Diddy cover up illegal activities for years. He described how he had organized payments to silence victims, arranged fake travel records, and destroyed evidence that could have ended Diddy's career long ago. His statement was backed by receipts, emails, and financial documents. He even provided names of others who had helped protect the operation. Social media exploded with reactions videos, memes, breakdowns of the verdict, and hot takes from celebrities and influencers. People were divided, but no one could ignore what had just happened. A global icon had fallen, and the shockwaves were being felt across the entire entertainment industry. The judge denied bail, citing the seriousness of the crimes and the risk of flight. The once untouchable mogul was now facing decades in prison. Their testimonies weren't enough to erase the damaging footage, but they did create confusion, enough to make the jury second-guess what had seemed like a straightforward case. By highlighting her past grievances, the defense tried to convince the jury that she had financial and personal reasons to fabricate her story. Their goal was clear: introduce doubt and discredit the people behind the accusations. Diddy hadn't acted alone. There was a network, a system designed to shield him from consequences. YouTube was flooded with breakdowns of the trial, including one titled "Criminal Lawyer Reacts to Diddy's Verdict," which quickly went viral. In it, a former prosecutor detailed how fame, power, and fear had allowed a dangerous empire to grow unchecked, and how, for once, it had finally been brought to justice. As a result, more arrests followed, and several people in his inner circle were indicted. Every major news outlet was broadcasting live, speculating on the verdict. When the jury finally returned, the room fell silent. One by one, the charges were read, and the verdicts followed. guilty, guilty, guilty. On counts of conspiracy, trafficking, obstruction of justice, and illegal surveillance, Sean Diddy Combs was found guilty. The defense tried to discredit her. They brought up old lawsuits she had been involved in and suggested she was bitter after being terminated, but her account was calm and consistent. For the jury, she became the emotional center of the case. His defense team didn't have to prove his innocence, they only had to create enough uncertainty. And as the trial neared its end, that uncertainty started to cloud everything the prosecution had built. They brought in a panel of forensic video experts who claimed that the footage had been edited, compressed, and possibly tampered with before being handed to the authorities. The defense showed examples where timecodes skipped and camera angles didn't match timestamps. They argued that whoever recorded the footage may have deliberately removed context to make Diddy appear guilty. Their expert witnesses explained how deepfake technology and selective cutting could mislead viewers even in court. Unlike technical experts or video analysts, she gave the story a human voice. Her testimony didn't just support the evidence, it gave it meaning. And for many watching, it became harder to see Diddy as a misunderstood celebrity and easier to believe he had spent years hiding something truly dark. After weeks of damning testimony and mounting evidence, Diddy's defense team made their move. Their first step was to attack the credibility of the surveillance videos. Then came the character attacks. The former assistant who had given the powerful testimony in Chapter 3 was now under a microscope. They also pointed fingers at the media. Diddy's lawyers argued that prosecutors were pressured by public opinion, social media. To strengthen their position, they brought in a parade of character witnesses, musicians, producers, and employees who described Diddy as tough but fair, a perfectionist who never crossed legal lines. For the first time since the trial began, it looked like Diddy might avoid conviction. The jury deliberated for 4 tense days. Inside the courthouse, reporters waited for updates while crowds gathered outside with signs, phones, and cameras. The reaction was immediate. Some in the courtroom gasped. Others sat frozen, unable to process what they had just heard. Diddy remained still, his face blank. Outside, the public response was divided. Some felt justice had finally been served. But the story didn't end with the verdict. A week after the trial, another twist hit the headlines. This new confession didn't just confirm the prosecution's case, it exposed something bigger. As the news unfolded, criminal lawyers, commentators, and analysts reacted online.